She's been in the pollen substitute. So spring is in the air today, that's for sure. The bees are tearing this pollen substitute up. You can see, I just used this, got this idea from my friend Laura to use one of these Pro Nukes to put all the pollen substitute in. You can see the bees are really hitting it. Which tells me, you know, spring is in the air. And these queens are brooding up. Got all these bees in here gathering pollen sub, taking it back to their colonies. Look at that. I've had this out here for several weeks just to have pollen available to them if they want it. They're definitely using it. See the pollen baskets on that one? She's pushing it on her back legs there. So let's talk a little bit about an apiary update. I've had the worst winter I've ever had, just on record here. You get full transparency on my channel. I don't try to hide any mistakes that I make or sweep anything under the rug. That's just not who I am. So up until this year, I had never lost a colony through the winter, and this is my 4th winter. I'm heading into my 5th spring. So you'll notice, if you've watched my channel, that we've got some hives missing. I have lost 5 colonies and counting. It stinks, but it is what it is. If you do this long enough and you have enough colonies, you're going to lose colonies. I don't care if you're the world's greatest, best, most perfect beekeeper. Mother Nature will say otherwise at times, right? So let's talk a little bit about the 5 that I lost first, and then we can talk about these others that you can see now. So what do I think happened? Well, we've had an absolutely brutal winter here in Kentucky. And what do I mean by brutal? Well, it was colder than usual. It's not just that it was colder, it was the extended cold periods and wet periods. We had a lot of rain and we had a lot of snow and extended cold periods. And so, you know, what exactly does that mean for the colonies? Well, that means that the bees can't get out like they are right now. I mean, it's, what are we, February 24th right now, and you can see we got lots of bees flying, lots of bees here. And so what are they doing? Well, they're actually out looking for pollen right now because they're brooding up, but they're also doing their cleansing flights, and they're also very likely getting water. So why did those bees die? Well, when I looked into those colonies, and I should have shot a video, and I apologize, I did not. You know, I was a little upset. All the bees' heads were stuck inside the cells with their butts barely poking out of the cells. Well, that is a telltale sign of starvation, okay? And when I looked further inside the colonies, and further yet, lifted them off of these stands, they were freaking heavy. I mean, one of them had to be 30, 35 pounds. And I opened it up, and there was frame after frame of honey in there. But where the brood was, and where the dead little cluster of bees remaining were, there was no food immediately around them. So what does that mean? How do bees starve when the hive is absolutely full of food? Well, the answer to that is that cold weather. And so bees, worker bees, nurse bees specifically, If there is a cluster of brood on one frame, and the nurse bees and the bees are all clustered around that to keep that brood warm and alive, they will not leave it. Even if there's a frame of food right next to them, perfectly good food right next to them, they will not leave that brood and starve to death before allowing that brood to chill and die. That's just the way they're programmed. They will not leave it. And so I think that's what happened on these 5 colonies. You know, were they weak? Were they small going into the winter? Maybe, probably. Why did they decline? Did they have a failing queen? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know for sure. I personally don't believe it was Varroa, which is the single largest, what's the right word? Varroa is responsible single-handedly for the most colony collapses, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't believe it was Varroa for a couple reasons. One, I believe I have a very good IPM mite treatment plan. And number 2, generally when you see these dead outs due to Varroa mites, the bees are not buried inside their heads, stuck inside a cell, trying to look for any possible nutrition there is. They actually die on the comb in a normal facing on top of the comb. There may be a large amount of bees dead on top of the comb, but they're dead due to likely extreme viral loads or illnesses that the Varroa destructor mite is a vector for. Again, it's not the Varroa mite that necessarily kills bees, although it significantly, harms their health. I mean, it does impact them physically, but it's the viruses that the Varroa mite carries that really ends up causing the colony collapse. So when you see Varroa deadouts, Varroa caused deadouts, you will, and the only way to confirm that is to take those dead bees, do an alcohol wash, and see how many Varroa come out in that alcohol wash. That's how you confirm winter dead out that's due to Varroa mites. But typically, the difference between that and starvation is how the bees look on the comb, the dead bees look on the comb. So I've lost 5 colonies. I lost a few over here. I lost a few over here. And as you can see, this stand has seen better days. I've been trying to patch it with ratchet straps and everything else. My buddy Dave Hansberry and I both lamented recently and talk about how these hive stands are notorious for, because of the natural water that I have here in the runoff. As you can see, they start to slant over time. So I moved 2 colonies that remained on this stand over there. See, I lost 3 of the 4 over here. These 3 on the far left were located over here. That one on the far right is the only one of the 4 that's made it, and it's hanging on. I mean, it is hanging on. Don't fly in my mouth. God, these bees are all over me. It's hanging on. Do I think it's going to make it? Gosh, I hope so. Some of these just are very small clusters, very weak. But if that queen is alive in there, and I put pollen patties and some more food, Hive Alive, inside these colonies right next to the cluster. Because every single one of these has a patty of Hive Alive on them, and has. It's not that they did not run out of Hive Alive patty. The problem is, wherever the cluster was, it got so dadgum cold that they would not break cluster to go get food, and they starved to death. So some of these colonies, and it's the ones that I don't have a brick on, are hanging on, meaning it is not a lot of bees. It is a small cluster remaining. But if there is a good laying queen in there, and I think we're past the cold days here in Kentucky, she can immediately start laying again, and that colony will be just fine coming into the spring. I'm hopeful. The ones that have a brick on them laying flat, this is my own little Josh's little code for, I don't know, my system, means that the colony's looking pretty good. The ones that have the brick vertical, those colonies are strong colonies. And so I do have a few of those. Over here, these 4 are strong colonies. By the way, yeah, strong colonies. So those 3, tons of bees inside. This one, not so much. I mean, again, I think it'll make it. I think it's going to be okay. You know, there's forager bees here. They're bringing in pollen. So that tells me that there is a laying queen still in there. If you watch and you see the bees that are in that pollen sub coming back into this colony, there's a laying queen in there and she's brooding up. Those 3 colonies right there, I'm not even remotely worried about. They are kicking butt and taking names. They're going to be just fine. It's these other 5 I'm just a little worried about. So worst case scenario, I'm going to lose 10 colonies, I think. I'm optimistic they're going to make it to where I come out of the winter with 13 out of 18. By far the worst winter for me. First year I had 1 colony, made it just fine. Second year I had 4 colonies, made it just fine. Third year I had 10 colonies, all 10 made it just fine. And then this year I tried to overwinter 18 and I've lost 5. It is what it is. Yeah, it's sad, but you know, welcome to beekeeping, everyone. This is an imperfect science for sure. But if all 13 of these colonies make it, I'm confident that they're going to be very strong colonies. Now, with that said, some of you have reached out to me about nukes. I could not have foreseen that I was going to lose 5 colonies, maybe even more than that. I haven't decided yet, but I may not make or sell a single nuke. Now, I promised a guy here local, his name's Jason, and I feel obligated to get one for him. So I'll split one of these strong colonies and definitely make up a nuke for him because he's just a great guy, and he's been reaching out wanting a nuke for a while. But I need to repopulate my apiary here. So these strong colonies that do make it out, I'm splitting every single one of them. And I'm gonna have new colonies out here. Now, what's that gonna do to my honey production? It's gonna set it back. And that's what stinks. I mean, if you want a good bumper honey crop, you need to successfully bring colonies out of the winter. That queen needs to be laying right now, February timeframe, March timeframe, and just build up that population to get a good honey crop. When you split a colony in April, when there's drones, or when they start making those swarm cells, that's when you want to split. The bees tell you when it's time to split. That's when you want to split, and you start making, or they start making those swarm cells. That's when it's time to split. Well, by then you're already into April, and the queen is just it's a numbers game. There's not enough time left to make a huge honey crop. Now, there still is time left. You still get some honey, but generally speaking, when you first bring a colony in or a brand new split, you're not going to get a lot of honey off of that colony. There's always exceptions, guys, always exceptions. But, these these 3 colonies, I'm not sure how they're going to do. I'm not sure if they're going to make it or not. I'm hopeful. That yellow one that doesn't have a ton of activity on it right now is one of my best ones. I mean, trust me, there's a ton of bees in that colony. This one right here, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I get every single one of them has a pollen patty and some Hive Alive right next to the cluster. And I will keep a very close eye on the colonies that don't have a brick on them, the 5 colonies here that don't have a brick on them, until we get into the flow and they have natural food available. So I'll be darned if I'm going to let these little clusters starve, even if it's a little bit of me nursing them. So be it. They had a tough winter. So is Josh changing his philosophy on insulation of colonies because of this tough, maybe one in I don't know how many years we've had of a tough winter in Kentucky? Yeah, I think I am. Do I plan on possibly insulating the outside of my colonies going forward? Yeah, I am. Are we always learning in beekeeping? Yes, we are. Talk to some of the greatest minds out there, the Kent Williams, the John Benhams, the Tom Seeleys. They tell you they learn something new every day. They're still learning. I'm still learning. I will always be learning. And I will always try to be a better beekeeper. That will never stop until the day I die. And I think all of us should have that attitude. We do our best, and things don't always work out the way we hope for them to. Silver lining? these bees that did survive here, probably a little bit better survival stock for the local conditions here, right? Maybe those queens that didn't make it came from further south. I don't know. I have never bought a queen yet in my life. I've never, in the, whatever, 4 going on 5 years that I've been doing this, I've raised my own queens. I've raised several from emergency queen cells, and I've raised several from swarm cells that I've had, but I've never bought a queen elsewhere and introduced it. Now, that doesn't mean that I won't. I'm actually currently in this Kentucky Queen Breeders Association that Dorothy Morgan runs, and she is going to have these. It's a fascinating course. It's all about trying to find queens with grooming behavior, or biting behavior, with the shorter mandibles where they will bite the mites. And any damage to a varroa mite, even if it's just bites half of one of its little legs off, kills it. That's how delicate they are in the sense of their exoskeleton, right? And so you can buy a microscope and look at mites, pull them off an IPM board and look at them under a microscope. And if they've been chewed on, those are the queens you want. And Dorothy is teaching us all about this. And we're going to have a chance to go to our capital here in Kentucky, in Frankfort, and pick up some queens with chewing traits, chewing genetics. And those are queens I tend to introduce into my apiary here in an effort to try to cut down on mites. But I treat. I probably overly treat. Varroa is something that you absolutely have to take care of. You cannot, in Josh's opinion, in my opinion, you cannot be a treatless beekeeper and be successful in beekeeping. The Varroa will beat you every time. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. So that's an update from the yard, guys. I'm probably going to move this red one here so I can, because those 2 stands in the middle here are the ones that are sinking and slanted towards the back, and I just need to redig these, the dirt around them, reposition them, re-level them, and then this spring I will put new colonies on top there. The good news is, right, we talk about silver linings in beekeeping, at least I do. I got lots of extra equipment now because I was planning to expand to possibly up to 30 hives this year. That ain't going to happen. That ain't going to happen this year, and that's okay. Just a minor setback. If you've been reading all the coverage on the California issues, there's reported like 80% to 100% colony losses out there. So, oof, I feel terrible for those beekeepers. We've not experienced that here. My own little inner circle of friends, I have the higher percent losses. My other friends have been reporting like less than 5% losses, which is phenomenal. That's awesome. And I hope that continues. I really want to have some good local genetics in our area here in Oldham County. We've got a lot of really talented beekeepers. I mean, in the surrounding Louisville area, we've got a lot of awesome beekeepers that are doing a great job. And we want to keep that going. If you are in my area, please consider purchasing bees from a local source. You want those local genetics. We want to make sure that those proliferate throughout our area. Do not order from down south, from Florida, from Georgia, those bees. It's not that they're bad bees or anything. They're just not acclimated to our somewhat, at times, cold Kentucky winters. It's probably no surprise to anybody. It doesn't get as cold in Florida and Georgia as it does here. Why do you think many snowbirds hibernate down there? For that reason. So yeah, what I'm seeing today, I'm cautiously optimistic. These colonies have a chance of making it, the ones without a brick, I would say. There's 5 of them, right? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5. And I will keep a very close eye on them. The ones that have the vertical brick on, I am not even remotely worried about. They are tearing it up. I mean, my gosh, this one gray one over here, this looks like a spring flow day, the activity that's coming out of this one. I mean, they're flat getting after it. Good looking colony right there. And I get to the point where I'm actually grafting queens. This is some of the stuff that I'm going to be looking for. These are some of the traits that I'm going to be looking for. Hardy, hardy bees that can make it through the wintertime, and good numbers, low varroa mite loads, you know, hygienic qualities, resistive traits. That's what we're looking for out here. But you can see the difference between like that colony and this red one that's a small cluster in there. So those poor girls are just doing everything they can. And I am too. You know, putting Hive Alive right next to the cluster and pollen patty. They don't even need to leave unless they're just taking their orientation flights. There's food in there for them, everything they need for that queen to start brooding up. So anyway, that's it for this video. I just wanted to come out, take a quick video, you know, report my colony losses, my overwintering, you know, success or lack thereof, however you want to look at it, and just kind of share with you all my experiences and what happened and why I believe they happened. But yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. Please have a beautiful day. Spring is in the air. We get excited as beekeepers. You know, it's almost go time, and we certainly have our work ahead of us. Hopefully all of you have been busy in your workshops, doing all your repairs, doing your repainting, doing your fixes. Lord knows that's what I've been doing. And then also stressing out during this time of year, trying to keep my bees well fed and keep them from starvation, because, you know, February and March is peak starvation mode. People, you have got to check these colonies. You got to get in them real quick, take a peek. If it's, you know, warm days like this, no problem at all. But even if it's kind of 30 degrees out there, you can crack the top real quick and take a peek, and you'll be just fine. The bees will be just fine. But you gotta keep an eye on them, and you know, try to help them out the best you can. So yeah, please give it a thumbs up if you like this video. You know, I don't know. It's like I said, it's kind of it's sad, but it's okay. This is all part of beekeeping. And we don't what is it? We don't something, we learn. We don't, I don't know. We learn from this stuff. And anyway, that's my thoughts, and I'm sticking to it. So thanks again for joining me on this video. You guys have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on the next one.